Rex Allen Krebs is a perpetrator responsible for at least 2 violent deaths. He has exhibited an extended history of sexual predatory behavior. He has identified himself as a monster. He requested the death penalty upon his apprehension. Many will argue that he should be granted his wish sooner rather than later. In California, the condemned, unlike their victims, die a delayed and protracted death, usually by natural causes. Rex Allen Krebs was a time bomb awaiting detonation from his earliest formation. His own father labeled him a demon seed. Given his father's own tortured and criminal history, his observations seem both accurate and relevant. Krebs's father would evade responsibility for his son's behavior. The family had been drenched in violence and death, including a road rage murder and the suspected death of a sex worker. Was Rex Krebs influenced more by nature or nurture? By the age of 21, Rex Krebs had already been arrested for 3 burglaries, 2 violent sodomy rapes, and a misdemeanor sex offense. By the time he was arrested for his 2 fatal crimes in 1999, he had spent more than 11 of his past 15 years in law enforcement custody. His sadistic rage manifests itself on the evening of November 12, 1998. He stalked a 20-year-old Cal Poly student, Rachel Newhouse, who just left a party intoxicated from a local restaurant. She was walking nearly 2 miles alone to her residence that include mounting the darkened Jennifer Street Bridge. Krebs overpowered Newhouse as she reached the top of the bridge. He was wearing a skull-faced Halloween mask. He viciously beat her unconscious and dragged her down the staircase by her hair. Leaving a blood and hair trail, she was hogtied and heaved into the rear bed of Krebs' parked pickup. Krebs drove her to his secluded Avila Canyon house and repeatedly raped her. She was later strangled to death. 4 months later, in the early morning hours of March 12, 1999, Krebs stalked and shouted another 20-year-old college student, Audria Crawford. He slipped and squirmed his way unnoticed into her apartment via an elevated transom-type bathroom window facing the street front. Startling her in the early morning hours as she responded to her dog's barking, he beat her into insensibility. He repeated Newhouse's ordeal of rape, torture, and ultimately murder at his property, burying both bodies separately in shallow graves on site. Krebs' rental residence was on an isolated hillside property accessible via Davis Canyon Road, over a mile from the nearest paved roadway. This cloak became Krebs' hellish playground. The isolation gave him an unrealistic sense of immunity from scrutiny. No one would voluntarily drive the twisting dirt pathway wide enough to only accommodate a single vehicle. The criminal investigation following Crawford's disappearance focused primarily on convicted sex and violent crime offenders in the region. 2 San Luis Obispo police investigators converged their attentions towards Krebs, knowing of his history. He would be arrested, convicted, and sentenced to death at San Quentin, where he remains today. Were there additional female victims given his predatory history?